with mines out, you shouldn't try countering him. I had a big enough economy to double expo, which is why I took both top expansions. And I'm trying to counter him now because his push is already late compared to normal. And if he didn't try to push, he would have been contained extremely by my lurkers, because he won't have tanks anywhere in time, so he needs to go the normal push. So it's more or less free to counter him, because he won't have mines in time. And because I counter him, I can keep his army back at his base and get more units out. And get up my top base, which I currently defend with Sunkens and a Niners canal.
You're making it sound as if your ability to make a counterattack on the Terran depends solely on whether he has mines out or not. Is it really that important?
Well, if you want to move your group of 4 lurker and defiler and links into 2 spider mines and see everything blow up, while he just drops your main because you're too busy doing stuff, then you have problems.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it was as important as you were making it sound it was. Okay.
Yes, it's important. Because generally, if I would try to counter it, I will most likely run into links, into mines. And Terran also, if he gets mines, he won't try to kill it with his army. Because when you run into his mines, he doesn't need his army back at home. And it's easier for him to attack. And when I need to play against Terran who goes mines in the late game, vultures with mines, I will mostly try to get 4 and 5 bases with a good economy, and then try to out-counter him with that good economy, so I can just rally links into his mines and use them up that way. He managed to attack at the top of his base, and I just barely get a defiler there to defend it, which also was bad considering the fact that I have enough stuff to defend it properly. But I'm still able to defend it, and I managed to get the defiler to my contained position outside of his base. And generally, when I have enough lurker to nearly one-shot bunker and I'm under swarm at his base, it's more or less game here.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on when is a good time for Zerg to set up a contain, and when it's a good time to just go for it like this? Is there just a magic number of lurkers?
It's not really about magic number. It depends more on his build, and generally, if you have a Terran who doesn't mess up anything, and you play Mutalisks into lurker, then it shouldn't be able to contain him at all, because he should have units out in time to deny your contain. Generally, you can mostly contain him if he missed something, or when your Mutalisks did enough damage to keep him in his base long enough for your lurker to get to the position. A good example would be on destination. When once you get a lurkers outside of his base on his natural, it mostly depends on how you can use your Mutalisks. As a general approach against the standard 4 racks, it's not really possible to get lurkers next to his natural, because you got so many marines, you need every lurker for defense. Against 2 racks, tag into vessel, the 9-minute push, or against the 9-minute push, you will have lurkers ready more or less the moment he tries to move out, so you can't contain him either. Against 3 racks, tag to 2 vessel, it could be possible to contain him because his push is 40 seconds later, and you could contain him if he messes up with his marines and you get some good kills with your middle-risks. And then it's good if you can contain him because you can delay his push by a pretty long time. And other than that, there's not much left. Against the 5x, you can try to do it. Normally, it's better if you just get a safe third base, but I already lost my third base, so there wasn't much left which I could do. And because of my lurkers at his natural, here I pretty much killed most of his units and SCVs and denied mining pretty much with my queen. And I wanted to play it safe here because I already made an extremely stupid mistake by not borrowing my 2 lurkers, and I didn't want it to happen again because my third base at the top still was not really saturated with 4 drones on the middle. Yeah, I have the top right base, but it also wasn't really secured, and I just tried to attack with some lurkers and defiler in the middle, and I missed it a little bit. Got a good plague off, but lost, I guess, 3-4 lurkers and all my links. So I wanted to play it safe and use my ultralisks to win
it. At what point in the game do Zergs transition from a lurkerling defiler into adding ultralisks?
Again, it depends on the map and depends on his build. And because more or less against each build, it will get you a different amount of economy, which you can use to get a 4th base and sort of. But as a general rule, you can get ultralisks once you have 4 gas income, as I guess you all should know. On some maps where it's easier to take extra bases, like on Fighting Spirit or on Destination, I generally keep making bases before using ultralisks. On Destination, on Fighting Spirit, I will most likely take my 4th base with Defiler and Lurker once my Defiler are out, and I try to also take an extremely fast 5th base, because if you take the base between your 3rd and your main, like the middle bases, then it's quite easy to hold them on the ramp with 3 lurkers against any kind of M&M. And when he pushes there, you just move and Defiler there, and you still got it secured. And I mostly get ultralisks when I have 4 or 5 gas. Depends on the map. And also it kind of depends on his build, because if he goes for some mass M&M into Vulture style and doesn't have that much of tanks or vessels, you don't really need ultralisks because they just die 2 mines. So it's also okay when you stay on Lurker a little bit longer, maybe go Hydra Lurk with Speed Overlords, or just try to get more bases with your Lurkers, because Lurkers are still good at a defense when you have Dark Swarm over it, because you just can't kill it.
Alright. So, I'm going to make the safe assumption that your game plan at this point is to just try to attempt to prevent him from establishing a new base, because, he's mined out in his natural and his main.
Yeah, I knew after I infested his command center that the game was pretty much over, and when I just managed to keep my bases and build enough ultra link so I can just aim with him. I just wanted to play it safe because of the mentioned misclicks. Didn't want it to happen again because this was also an important match. It was Gambit Cup Finals and I wanted to win it. Because if I tried to be a little bit more aggressive, it could be that I just run everything into my mines and then I die to some drop because I got no units, or I don't know, he could do some eraser on my drones and I'm just not prepared at anything because I currently have no units. So yeah, I wanted to make something.
He had a reasonably sized vessel cloud, and it irradiated a bunch of your stuff without punishment. And yes. I asked Project a similar question, and I was about him losing vessels for free, and he really surprised me with his answer of, I really don't care, vessels are just going to die, it's part of the game, I don't think about it too much. Do you take the same mentality of units getting irradiated?
Depends on his army, of his vessel cloud. If I see he got a round of 6-8 vessels, then I don't really care if he irradiates my stuff. But when I just can't get to kill his vessels and I plague his more or less control group of vessels, and 1 minute later I see another control group with full vessels at my front, which just starts irradiating because it has been AFK for some time and just used their 250 energy. I'm getting kind of pissed because there is nothing I can do because when I can't kill it. But recently this didn't really happen because many Terrans tried to go for some sort of mines and tanks in the late game instead of adding maybe a 3-port or going really too heavy 2-port vessel style. So it actually didn't happen that much recently. But when he has around, I would say, the normal amount of vessels, I don't really care that much, I would say. You just need to be a little bit more focused on what he is going to irradiate and consider that he has irradiate. So you get extra defiler and extra lurker for defending the third base. So it's easy to defend it when he goes to irradiate it. But in the late game where it's everything going on the map, I don't really care about it. I just care about getting more expansions and trying to defend with my defiler and lurker at the expansions.
You mentioned it a couple times. I showed it really briefly, but you did build a queen, and you used the queen to infest the command center to stop mining. Now, being completely honest, how much of that was a technical decision, and how much of that was being BM?
The technical decision was that his command center was under 700, and he didn't start to, or under 750 HP, and he didn't start to repair it. Mostly Terrans will forget about it, but it mostly happens with third bases or fourth bases, because then the game is more evolved and you have more bases and everything, and links coming, getting at each base, and you just, as a Terran, try to send stuff around and lay mines and use your vessels and stuff. So it can get hard to repair everything at your extra bases. And it works out, my queen works around every third time I use it, I would say. So it's not that extremely and situational BM style. It also works sometimes, which is why it's fun to do. And in this game here, I thought it was worth trying because he didn't have any turrets left at the command center, and I damaged it quite hardly, and I was still in a good position because I just attacked his natural, and all his army was back at the natural, except some random marines at my third base, I guess. So I was more or less